So I just finished watching the final episode of the first season of Invincible, and I gotta say, that show is so good, bro. It's so good from start to finish. Episode 1 to the final second of episode 8. That show is top to bottom great. I loved it so much. I'll give you a brief summary of what it is, basically, but I won't go into spoilers because I feel like if you just stumble upon this video, you might just want to watch it for yourself. So I'm not really gonna go into spoilers, but I'll give you a brief summary of the plot, just so you get an idea of what we're talking about. Basically, Invincible, the best way that I can explain the story of Invincible is it's kind of a mix between Spider-Man and Superman. I think that's the easiest way to explain to someone who has no idea what Invincible is, what the story is about. Basically, our main character, Mark, is a young man who finds out that he has powers, and throughout the show, we find out many things about his heritage, right, where he got his powers from, which in this case, his dad is basically the Superman of the Invincible universe. You find more about how he handles being a new superhero. And also what I really love about this show is it's a very realistic approach on Mark is a freshly arrived hero, and he's not shitting on anyone other than the people that are clearly weaker than him just because of his just pure genetic strength that he has just from being who he is. The people that are more experienced than him often win. And even people, and a lot of the times during the show, he gets overpowered by brute strength, even though that's his thing. And I really like that because it really makes you feel like you're really following someone who is vulnerable. It's about as realistic as it's going to get when you're talking about superhumans who fly in the sky and who can go around the earth in 5 seconds. You know what I mean? It's about as realistic as it gets. Other than, I guess, something like a show like The Boys, which, in my opinion, is a more realistic take, but more realistic or less realistic it's not what makes those shows so good. In the case of Invincible, what makes the show so good is the fact that the relationships between the characters are so believable. Even in this universe where there's gods and monsters flying around, the most interesting part and the most integral part to the story are the relationships between these characters. Because at some point you reach the level where these people are so strong. What could even take them down? What could even make this interesting? Why would I even care about this if I know that these people cannot lose? These people are... In this case, it's the relationships between these characters that makes it so compelling, and it keeps you coming back week to week. And I loved it the whole way through. I think I'm just going to leave it at that for the story. Obviously, I could go into spoiler details and talk about each individual episode and what happens in each individual episode and what's so interesting. But I will just let whoever sees this video and has not seen Invincible go take a look at it. And if you've seen Invincible already, then you know what I'm talking about. Another thing that I think was really well done in the show was the voice acting. They have a superstar cast for the show when it comes to voice acting. And honestly, you can tell. When you're listening to the show, you can tell. These people are really putting their all into this. They're not phoning in their performances. They're really going super hard on it. Especially Steven Yeun. He went super hard. Steven Yeun and J.K. Simmons both did a super good job voicing their characters, both Mark and Omni-Man. I just got to give props to them for that. The final thing I'm going to touch on is the animation, because for 8 weeks straight, the animation, every single week was on point. I had no problems. I'm not someone who's picky to begin with, so maybe I'm not the right person to ask about animation and stuff like that. But to me, the animation was on point every single week. I never felt like the animators got lazy or started not giving a shit. They did their thing on every single episode. And that final episode especially was very, very well animated the whole way through. And sometimes it's very easy to shit on animators. And I just want to say that they really did their thing. Both the voice acting cast and the animators really bring this show to life. This story itself is such a great story. It's such a compelling story. And this adaptation from page to screen is amazing. Everybody did their thing. I just want to, everybody needs to be congratulated. I need everybody on here to get a raise. I don't know what it's going to take, but I am so excited for a second season. And if the show keeps this level of quality for however many seasons. They already announced season 2 and 3 right at the end of season 1. So for however many seasons this show is going to take, if they can keep this level of animation and voice acting, I think this might go down as one of the greatest superhero shows of all time. And I don't feel bad saying that. I don't feel like I'm making a hyperbolic statement saying that. This show is goated already after 1 season, 8 episodes. That's all it took for the show to be goated, 8 episodes. If I had to give this show a grade from like A to F, I'd give it an A+. I'd give it an A+. I feel pretty comfortable leaving it as an A+. It did everything it had to. Every single episode, from start to finish, everything was satisfying, and it just left me wanting more. I cannot wait for season 2 and 3. This show, honestly, has quickly risen up to one of my favorite shows of all time. And I'm not ashamed to say that. I love this show so much, and I cannot wait for what comes next.